5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And with that, welcome to your Media Mosh podcast. I am your host, Shane Beauregard, coming out with all your news, reviews, and previews. I want to watch on your streaming services, your television, and your local theater. I hope everyone's had a great week coming at you Sunday night, December 22nd, right before Christmas, folks. And I just want to start off by apologizing for last week. I had every intention on dropping a very quick episode, but between school parties, Christmas parties, and getting my daughter ready for her spelling bee, I had zero to little time to at least get something out. But I do apologize. I will make up for it this week. I'll tell you, that spelling bee is rough. She's in third grade. She won her third grade spelling bee, so she got a chance to go against the fourth and fifth graders. So what Scripps does is they give you a sheet, 2 sheets, and it has like 200 words on this thing. And honestly, I don't know how far I would get in the spelling bee. I'm pretty confident I could probably get to the second page, but I know I wouldn't win this thing. I mean, good Lord. So anyway, that took a lot of prep, and some of these words for third graders, even in fourth and fifth graders, are ridiculous. So yeah, so it was a crazy week, and it's going to be a crazy couple days before Christmas. I got a couple more days of work ahead of me before I get to take some time off, so I'm looking forward to that. But it is definitely throat punching season, folks. Anytime we get this close to the holidays, you can't drive. I do not like the increased traffic on the roads. I do not like the increased people. I just don't like people. People in stores is getting overcrowded now, and I almost lost it today at Costco. I just almost flipped my lid. But I kept myself in check. I will go over my things I hate the most about Christmas here in a little bit. I am not doing a Christmas special. I'll touch upon a little Christmas stuff, but not going into it. There's plenty of podcasts who cover Christmas specials. This isn't going to be one of them. Let's go right into the news of the week. Some of this is old. I want to talk about the Top Gun trailer, which came out last week. I am all over this thing. You know how much I love Tom Cruise. This thing looks good to me. It looks awesome. You also have Jennifer Connelly, and you have Miles Teller, who I believe is just a very, not to say he's underrated, I think he's properly rated. He's a very good actor. He just should be bigger than he is. I don't know what it is. I don't know if he's just not taking the right roles. But he's one of the better younger actors we have here. And he's in it. And I can't wait till next year. What else can I say about it? Thumbs up. I'll be interested to see how it does at the box office. Because if you're under 38 or even 40, let's call it 40, the line, you don't give a shit about Top Gun. I mean, let's be real. You probably never even seen Top Gun. And the funny thing is, growing up, when I've watched this in the 80s as a kid, it was more of a romance movie looking back at it, and just a male testosterone movie. Yeah, I didn't really care much for it. It wasn't in my wheelhouse at that particular time and age, but watching it now, it holds up somewhat, but I am still looking forward to the Top Gun Maverick. Tom Cruise can do no wrong right now. The other trailer that came out was Christopher Nolan's Tenet, and I can't tell you much about this trailer. It's weird. It looks really good though, and I just hope it's better than Interstellar. I was not a fan of Interstellar, though I am a huge fan of Christopher Nolan. I do have high hopes for this movie, and it comes out in July of 2020. Go check out that trailer right now. Just random thought here. My DC universe, I'm going to let it expire here next week. Only because they don't give you... There's not enough content to keep you there, to be honest with you. Right now, they have the Harley Quinn cart animated series, which is pretty solid. Of course, you have the Titans and the Doom Patrol, which are really, really good shows. But this is not enough to keep you there. And what I had the thought this week, I was wanting to see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles versus Batman, which is a 2019 film. Came out not too long ago. And also, I saw the trailer for Superman Red Son. And they're like straight to DVD, or you can rent them. Now, not for nothing, if I am a paying member to a streaming service, don't you think you'd want to drop that to the people who pay like a monthly fee? Stuff like that would keep me into the DC Universe streaming. But no, they don't. So I'm just going to let it go. And who knows, like I said, I've talked about this before. It's going to get folded into HBO Max or the Warner Brothers streaming. It's going to eventually go away. So I enjoyed it while I had it. It was a nice year-long run, but time to let it go. Also, trend of the week, which I love seeing this, is 50-year-old women Instagramming themselves on their birthday. This week was Terry Hatcher. Apparently she turned 55, and she decided to put herself out there on Twitter on a two-piece bikini. Thumbs up for me. I approve. they still look real and spectacular. Then, of course, not to be topped, Elizabeth Hurley posted another picture for some random reason. She doesn't need a reason to. She is F-I-N-E fine, folks. That is a trend that I like to see every week. 50-year-old actresses dropping bikini Instagram pics. Let's keep it going. Speaking of that, my rack of the week is Brie Larson. I only bring this up because she did a guest fill-in for the Jimmy Kimmel show. And it made me laugh because I wouldn't say she's a hardcore feminazi, but she leans that way. And I just really don't like her in general. But she wore this spectacular dress, is the only way I can say it. And I did not know what she was working with. That's the best way I could describe it. But it made me laugh. If you're a hardcore feminist like that and you're wearing the dress she was wearing, which was nice, and you should be allowed to wear whatever you want to wear. But my point is, if you wear something like that, I don't know as your interviewee how I could pay attention to anything other than your chest at that moment. So go look it up. She's all over Instagram. She's trending right now on the internet. I ain't gonna lie, she was looking pretty damn good. I don't know how her guests looked her in the eyes the entire time. So, and that is my rack of the week, Brie Larson. Keep it up. Here's some news that made me laugh. And this is the last bit of news I have. Cats. Upon poor reception, Universal is going to send an updated version to theaters. Hey, how about this concept? How about sending out a fucking good version to begin with, so you don't have to resend a what quote unquote an updated version to theaters. Put your best foot forward in the first fucking place there, and we won't need this. That movie looks creepy. I told you, it looks creepy anyway. No way. And the box office this week reflects that. So let's get right into the box office right now. Coming in at number 5 is Knives Out, bringing in $6.1 million. Coming in at number 4 is the aforementioned Cats, bringing in a lonely, pitiful $6.5 million, which I don't know what the budget was. I couldn't find it, which I'm sure it's got to be up there just based on the cast alone. Coming in at number 3, you have Frozen, bringing in $12 million, which brings its 5-week total to $386 million. Coming in at number 2 is Jumanji, bringing in $26 million. Second week in release, bringing its 2-week total to $101 million. But number 1 is Star Wars Rise of the Skywalker, bringing in a $175.5 million weekend. And I'll have that review for you at the very tail end of this episode. Coming out at the box office next week, or I should say Christmas Wednesday, folks. So my movie of the day is 1917. That is sitting at 93%. You also have Little Women coming at 94% of Rotten Tomato. Spies in Disguise, the Tom Holland, Will Smith animated movie, which is sitting at 76% of Rotten Tomato. And then you have the Michael B. Jordan, Jamie Foxx project, Just Mercy. Oh, now I think that Brie Larson's in that movie as well. And that's currently sitting at 80% of Rotten Tomatoes. So that's 4 choices for Christmas Day. Now, coming out on Netflix, the only thing worthwhile is you have Lost in Space Season 2 coming out Christmas Eve. So that could be your Christmas binge of the week. Now, let's get into what I watched this week. The first one, this is what I wanted to talk about last week. So I'm just going to spend a quick minute on this review. That is the Michael Bay, Ryan Reynolds Project 6 Underground, which is sitting at 36% critic score, 65% audience score. And I was shocked to find out this has the same team of writers that bought you Deadpool and Zombieland. But goddamn Michael Bay, it's like, can you just put your dick back in your pants? Like, it's like he just took it out and set it on the table and said, let's go. I mean, you want to throw back, and this is coming from me, people, who I am an action junkie. This was a throwback in the worst way of just male machismo, in the worst ways. I don't know how else I could describe this movie to you. I hated this fucking movie. It was the most joyless, suckless, mind-numbingly boring action movie I've ever seen. This is his worst movie since Pearl Harbor, and this is Ryan Reynolds' worst movie I've ever seen him in. Like, how do you not make Ryan Reynolds funny? It's like they took all the jokes that didn't make it into Deadpool or Deadpool 2, and they threw them into this fucking movie. This movie opens up with it seems like a 8-minute car chase, which is probably 6 minutes. And you have Dave Franco Oh, basically, this is a team of people who are supposed to be dead, and they are made up of this one unit, and they all go by specific numbers. So Ryan Reynolds is 1. They have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Got it, 6 underground. Dave Franco's the driver. He's 6. He ends up dying. Spoiler, he dies in the first 8 minutes of this movie. Every joke lands flat. They recruit number 7, who is played by Corey Hawkins. And it just kind of runs from there. I don't know what the plot is. I really don't. They kind of go over it, and then as you're watching this, as you're just getting dumber watching this, you forget what it's about. I think they're doing a coup. They're throwing over some government and trying to put his brother in place. I don't know. Let's get into the cast real quick. You have Melanie Laurent, who played Shoshana in Inglourious Bastards. You have Ben Hardy, who was the shitty angel in the last couple X-Men movies. You have Corey Hawkins, as I just mentioned, from Straight Outta Compton and the Jumanji movies. Yeah, and the other cast, not worth going over. I really did like Melanie Laurent, her character, which is number 3, and the hitman that was also part of the team, number 5. Let's call him number 5, because I don't care. So this team is comprised of an ex-CIA person. Ryan Reynolds plays a billionaire techie boy. Number 7 plays an ex-Green Beret. You have a doctor on this team. You have a driver. I mean, and this kid, Ben Hardy, number 4, plays this parkour thief or whatever. So yeah, there's plenty of headshots, car chases. You do get some TNA in this movie. But God, it was so bad. The jokes were poorly written. Again, it was the most joyless action movie I've seen in the last decade. I can't think of anything worse. So please, Netflix, do not support Michael Bay. And Michael Bay is a very capable... I know you guys are going to laugh at this statement, but he's a very capable director. I know we go back to The Rock, but Pain and Gain. Even the last movie he did a couple years ago with Jack Ryan in it, the Benghazi Troops or whatever, the military movie he made, that was actually a pretty decent movie. But man, I don't know what he was on. And I've talked to people who actually really like this movie, but it doesn't have a soul. This team in this movie has no chemistry together. You can tell they did not give a shit about each other. Then at the end, they forcefully try to start caring about each other. It just did not work all the way around. Critics have this one right. I give this one a 1.25 out of 5 for 6 Underground. God, I don't know if Ryan Reynolds just owed Michael Bay or he owed these writers something, but I hope his debt is paid. I hope his debt is paid because he doesn't need to do this shit again. Okay, so let's get into Star Wars Rise of the Skywalker. Now, I like to start this off, folks, by saying I never walk into a movie wanting to hate it. I never do. Because what's the point of going to the movies if you're just looking in there to hate it? I got better... No, sometimes I have a better way to use my time. Yeah, but I did set the bar low. I set this one for Force Awakens expectations, which was, again, a paint-by-numbers Star Wars movie. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I think I need to go back and watch The Last Jedi just to see if I could piece some things together. But Star Wars Rise of Skywalker sitting at 57% critic score, which really surprised me, with an 86% audience score. Now, I am probably going to talk some spoilers into this because I'm imagining if you wanted to see a Star Wars film, you're going to see it this weekend. You weren't going to wait. Here are my initial thoughts on this. They did a lot. J.J. Abrams did a lot to retcon The Last Jedi. To get rid of Snoke, how they killed him in The Last Jedi, to kind of come up with something else. And they did. They brought back Palpatine. And how? Why, you ask? I have fucking no idea, because Return of the Jedi, he was dead. Not mostly dead. He was dead. But no, he is back. And he has this fleet of ships called the Last Order that he wants to hand over to Kylo Ren if he kills Rey. So that is Kylo Ren's mission in this movie. Playing Palpatine's puppet, and you have Rey, Poe, and Finn all trying to track down some device that can help them find the hidden planet of the Sith so they can stop this invasion before it happens. That is the basis of the movie. And basically, they all go to one planet to find out some information and find out it's somewhere else and so forth and so on. So it's a treasure hunt. It's a scavenger hunt is what this movie is. You get a couple confrontations between Rey and Kylo in this movie throughout. And those parts were okay. I actually didn't mind Adam Driver as Kylo Ren in this particular movie, except for towards the end, kind of pissed me off. But yeah, there are some still story points where shit just did not make any sense to me. Now, it felt like a Star Wars movie. It looked like a Star Wars movie. I love the score. You can't go wrong with that. And a lot of the action scenes were really good. But the way they ended up using Rey's bloodline and storyline was very, I don't want to say predictable, but I thought was an overcourse correction of the last couple movies. See, I'm struggling not talking about spoilers here. This movie did feel very long, and I think it does sit at 2.5 hours. Now, I did have an issue with the Carrie Fisher usage as well. I don't know if she filmed some of this before she passed away. I honestly can't remember because I was sitting here thinking, man, that looks like her. It doesn't look a CGI her. It looks like her. So I don't know if they got to film a little bit of it before she passed away. And then I kind of remember she was like a Force Ghost or some shit in Last Jedi. I don't know. The Force Ghost issue came up a couple times during this movie. Especially with Luke, you have a cameo by Han Solo. Yeah, I guess that's a spoiler. You have a cameo. Luke is in this. You have Han Solo, who's in this. You have Billy D. Williams, Mr. Colt 45, playing Lando in a couple scenes, and he was really good. I mean, he's fine. The Poe character pisses me off because to me, he's like the next Han Solo-ish kind of character. I feel like they still don't know what to do with Finn. I thought he had like a little love interest thing going with the Asian girl from The Last Jedi, and that totally didn't go anywhere. They totally changed directions on that one. And he did have an interesting backstory being an ex-stormtrooper turned good, but they never really expanded on that or explored that at all, so I just felt like they were always searching for something for his character to do. Poe's just he's just a bad soldier. Like, I don't know. In this movie, he gets to be rank of the general. Like, why? Why would you ever make him anything? And furthermore, Rey is a shitty team member as well because she just randomly disappears without communicating anything to anyone on her team. So why you'd want these people on your team is beyond me because there's no communication. People just run off in every direction and do what they want anyway. So that kind of made me laugh because Rey did it several times where she has people depending on her, and yet she disappears without telling anybody. But yeah, this thing comes full circle. I guess I won't spoil anything else for you. Dragged in the middle for me, and I actually did not mind how it ended. Palpatine thing was probably the worst part of the movie for me. That being said, I guess it's the logical conclusion to this trilogy here, which was better than the prequels, I guess. You know, I will probably check this out again, not in the theater, because there's some stuff to sit on and think about in this movie. Coming from a non-Star Wars fan, I enjoyed most of it. Okay, now there was some laughable dialogue. There are some scenes that you're just going to throw your hands up at and be like, really? You had an Avengers Endgame moment in here for me, and I'll go into that a little bit next week maybe, but I disagree with the critics on this. I would not give this a 57%. It's passable for me. I give Star Wars The Rise of the Skywalker a 3.0 out of 5. All right, let's get into the last thing I watched this week, and this was a treat. This is the best thing I watched all week, so I'm definitely saving the best for last. That is the Netflix original The Witcher, starring Henry Cavill, Freya Allan, and starring Anya Charltran. Yeah, we'll go with that. We'll just call her Anya. This one is sitting at 58% critic score with a 91% audience score. Another great divide. And basically, you have Henry Cavill playing The Witcher, Geralt of Rivia. He's basically a monster hunter who just walks around the lands looking for jobs, fighting monsters, and doing odd jobs for anyone who'll pay him. And a Witcher is someone who's been mutated since he was a boy, and he has semi-magical powers and is immune to magic, and he's supposed to have no emotion. So he truly does not care about anything except for the job at hand and the money he's being paid. And you have Freya Allan playing Ciri, and you have Anya playing Yennefer. Those are the three main characters in this show. And it's the first season, 8 episodes, and it was absolutely terrific. Now, this is coming from someone who has not read the books. I did play The Witcher 3, which is one of the best video games you'll ever play. And I was excited when Henry Cavill got casted as Geralt. And there were a lot of people saying he can't pull it off. He pulled it off. Now, he's still a little too pretty for for the main character. But he had the voice down, the mannerisms down. This show is dryly funny when it needs to be. But if you're a fantasy fan, it's right up your alley. You can tell Netflix pumped a lot of money into this show because the set pieces were great. The locations where they shot felt like I was in the video game I played. You had bright colors when there needed to be. You had your dark tones when you needed to be dark. But the very bright illuminating colors in a lot of these set pieces, I really liked them. I really liked them. What impressed me was the acting across the board. Ciri, the actress who plays Ciri, is only in like one or two things, and the actress who plays Yennefer was only in Wanderlost and ABC Murders, so not a depth of experience. Yeah, you basically have three storylines going on at the same time here. You have Geralt, who's, as you see early on, doing jobs for different kings and queens and people who are hiring him. You have young Ciri, Princess Ciri, who's her storyline about her mother and father, king and queen, their kingdom's being overrun and they have to evacuate her from the city. And her destiny is to find Geralt and team up with him. He's supposed to protect her, and that comes out as the story goes along. Then you have the mage, the witch, Yennefer. You have her story going on as well. And she starts off as a deformed hunchback person who gets sold to a witch because she has some magical capabilities. So you have her witch training coming full circle, and she does intersect Geralt at some point in this show. But just because that's the only part of the show that's semi-confusing, is you have three different storylines at three different timelines going on, and two of them do converge at a certain point of this movie, because when they shift timelines on you, they do it very subtly, where if you're not paying attention, you're like, why is this going on right now? I like the way they did it. They make you think about it, and you finally do realize it if you're paying attention. But I thought the writing was strong, the acting was strong, the production, the set pieces were all great in this. I thought the highlights of the first 8 episodes were episodes 3, 4, and then the last one. Definitely episodes 3 and 4, to me, were the strongest of the bunch. So yeah, I don't know what the fuck the critics are thinking about on this one. This is one of Netflix's better shows. I would put this up there with Daredevil as a show, or Altered Carbon if you like that. It's up there for me, and I cannot wait for season 2. I am currently going back and slow watching this with the VP, and she got hooked on the first episode. So thumbs up. One of the best things I've seen all year. One of the best Netflix shows of all year. And that's what I'm going to get into a little bit next week. It'll be my year-end show. Right now I'm compiling my list for best shows of the year, best movies of the year. I'm not going to do a worst list. I'm just going to do the best of, or what I enjoyed the most out of the year. And that is it, folks. So from me to you, have a great Christmas. Have a great week. I'll come at you next week with my end of year episode. Until then, go check me out on Facebook. Go check me out on the Twitterverse at Shane Media Mosh. More importantly, people, please go to the Apple Podcast Store, download me, share me, and please spare a moment and give me a 5-star review. I know you want to. And then circle back and go check out Mr. Argue Myself, Chris Frodell, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. 3 different platforms for 3 different types of content. Get caught up. Get caught up in the mosh.